Well, this time last year, the shed was little more than a concrete base. And although I got it finished for the winter, it's only really now in the spring that I'm utilising it fully. And I've got some really good innovations. Well, I like them anyway. It was never really designed, it was always in my head. So these are my top 13 innovations that I built into the shed. Okay, number 13, and you might not find this most interesting, but I finally got the downpipe done of the gutter. Prior to this, it just used to spurt out the side. And I finally got the bits from the DIY shop, whose mission statement is probably, we don't compromise, so you have to. And unfortunately the elbows are a different colour to everything else. But it does now finally drain down and go under the tree, and hopefully even waters the tree. So that's number 13. Number 12, because the roof has a bit of an overhang, which was intentional, I'm able to store the winter logs under there. It's south facing as well, so they get full sun and they stay dry, assuming the gutter doesn't overflow. Number 11 is my whiskey bottle windows. I did get more and more into doing this as I work with the mud and worked along the shed. So you will see this come up again. I have sort of diluted my top 13 with whiskey bottles. Number 10 is the mud brick walls. These all came from next door, which you might have seen in the other video, but they were free and they're so thick and so heavy and such good heat insulators and just aesthetically pleasing. Number 9 is the doors, not because I had the thought to put them off centre, so I've got enough height to get the truck in, but that I actually had them off the ground and then put some plastic on the bottom because now I can get the truck in the shed for working on it or just shelter really. That was if that had been an afterthought, it would have taken a huge amount of effort, but I did actually think about it as I was building it. So I didn't have to do it twice, which I'm quite pleased about. Number 8 is the KLR shrine. I had this arch in the wall, which is the back wall of the shed, and although it was a long way off the ground, I decided the KLR engine would be, the original KLR engine, or at least bits of it, from the big trips, could spend its last life here to be worshipped and respected. Number 7, I call my Lidl shelves. They, in Lidl, they always have these special offers for all sorts of cool stuff. Rivets and washers and O-rings and everything you could possibly want, and lots of things you don't want too. And every time I buy one, I use a little bit of tongue and groove, and so this is my little shelves. Briefly going back to the other side of number 11, this is what the whiskey window looks like when you're in the shed. I mean, you can't see through it. I mean, you can see colour, you can see that there's grass the other side. Can you see that? But more importantly, it lets in light, and it's very cool. Yeah, so does that crack in the wall also let in light, but we'll ignore that for the moment. Number 6 is the surround sound. You can't really appreciate how good this is because, like the cooking I did in the last video, you can't smell and taste it, and you can't tell the surround sound that's coming around the whole shed along with the subwoofer. But you have to take my word for it, it's phenomenal. This is a bonus one that's not in the charts. I deliberately precariously balanced the Harley truck with no visible forms of support. It just looks like it's about to come off the road or the wall. Number 5 is the solid stone sink, which I bought from the other shed in the last house. Solid stone, where I made an oak base for it, which was just big enough to put the fridge in. Number 4, and it's that whiskey thing again. This was top shelf, Jura, bottom shelf, a bunch of other single malts and washing up liquid. Part 2 of number 4, because I can't really milk the whiskey thing anymore, is, you might have seen this before, on my writing desk. The things I write about are the journey and the road. So that's where the inspiration occurs. And now, number 3. In the oak beams, which are the roof, of the studio, the writing studio and the recording studio, I managed to fit my LED round light in so tight between the beams, you can't really see, but that literally cigarette paper in between it. Number 2 is, with some inheritance I got, I bought my first ever bike lift. And not wanting to waste anything, I used the entire packing crate as part of this wall. Because it's double skinned with insulation, I get a lot of pleasure out of reusing stuff. And I think it looks very cool. One more bonus before we get to number 1. It's not all about whiskey. In this gap, I didn't have enough room for a bottle. So, in my mud wall, I put in some empty Marmite jars. Well, not quite empty. My break in case of emergency. And now, I proudly announce number 1 in my shed innovations. The door, which came from last shed, wasn't hung as well as it could have been, so it kept going, trying to close itself. I thought, how can I keep it open? With the hose lock. Coming together for contact. And that's how I keep the door open. That's my top 13 favourite shed innovations. Thank you for watching.